now. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for attending this session on personal statements. My name is Joanne Elliott and I'm a careers advisor here at Oaklands College. And today we have Abbie from University of Hertfordshire to go through the application process of writing a personal statement. So I will now pass her over.
Awesome. So I'm not Abbie, I'm Bella, very close, and we do look very similar, so I don't blame you. But hi guys, my name's Bella. So I'm just going to quickly turn off my camera just so you guys can see the full screen rather than have my face at the bottom. Joanne, can you see the whole screen?
Just about to send it through. There we go. Yes,
yep.
You're
can
now,
you see the whole screen? There's nothing to the side. It's all
University of Hertfordshire.
Perfect. I always like to double check just in case. Oh, I've gone back to Teams. Let's not do that. Let me minimize you. There we go. So hi guys, as we were saying, my name is Bella and I'm an Education Liaison Coordinator at the University of Hertfordshire. I was a student at Herts for 4 years, doing my undergrad degree in sports studies and then my master's in education. I was also one of the scholarship athletes, which I received through representing Great Britain in my sport of target shooting. So I'm here today to talk about personal statements and how you can write not just a good personal statement, but an excellent one, and how it's actually easier than you might think. By the time you go away today, you'll be feeling much more confident about how you can make yourself stand out on paper, and you'll know what the universities are looking for. So just to cover all of our bases, a personal statement is a short piece of writing all about you. You would have written very detailed and complicated assignments at school or college, but this is all about you. So in some respects, it's much easier. This short essay is about why you're the perfect applicant for the degree course you're applying for. A personal statement is roughly 47 lines long. UCAS use a particular font size, and once you've written 47 lines, that's the most you can write. Approximately those 47 lines translate to 500 words or one single page of A4. It takes an admissions tutor less than 5 minutes to read. So why is it so important? And what difference can a personal statement make? Well, university is very competitive. Last year, UCAS received over 650,000 personal statements, and that's generally the same every year. Far more students apply than there are spaces available, and many applicants all meet the basic entry requirements. A personal statement is what distinguishes you from others. It paints a picture of who you are beyond your grades. It's an integral part of your UCAS application and can make the difference between getting an interview or not, getting a higher or lower offer, and even the difference between getting a conditional or unconditional offer. Now, with those unconditional offers, remember you are still expected to work hard. Your A-level results will be on your CV for a very long time. Every job I've ever gone to has asked for my A-levels. Plus, if you do achieve less than the minimum entry requirements, you're going to find the first year of uni very hard because you're not going to have the skills you need to do the course. So if you do receive an unconditional offer, take it in the spirit it's intended, to relieve some stress and to be a safety net just in case things don't go as well as you'd hoped or in case a pandemic happens. A strong personal statement will also help you if you go through clearing because universities can see it when they're deciding whether to make you an offer. So it can be a real asset when it comes to making a good impression quickly and clinching that place. If you do find yourself in clearing, we recommend that you reread your personal statement before you call, as it can be a great confidence boost. So that one side of A4 has quite a lot of potential. And how do you make your personal statement an excellent one? Well, outstanding personal statements all achieve two things. One, they leave a fantastic lasting impression. And two, To the admissions tutor reading it, the answer to this question is obvious. Why should you be offered an interview or a place on this course? Everything you write on your personal statement should lead the admissions tutor to answer that question in your favour. So when it comes to writing your personal statement, have a think about why you should be offered a place. How might you be different to other applicants, and what can you offer? It might be that you have skills or characteristics that are favourable to the course, some examples of which are up on the screen now. Being able to answer the why you question is a skill that you will need throughout your entire life. Every interview for university or work basically boils down to those two words, why you. What is your unique selling point, your USP? A personal statement is just like an interview, but the big advantage is that you can prepare your answers. Plus, you can ask someone else to read through it before you submit it. Now, I've mentioned admissions tutors a few times, but who are they? Well, they are your audience. They're the people who read your personal statements and decide whether to offer you a place or an interview. They are experts in your subject of interest, and it's highly likely that there'll be a lecturer on your chosen degree course. You can only write one personal statement for all the courses that you're applying for. So that same personal statement will be read by up to 5 admissions tutors. So don't be too specific by mentioning your excitement to do a study abroad year, for example, if not all of your chosen courses offer it. Also think about your course choices and how to make your personal statement relevant for each one. So for instance, if you're applying for 5 courses that are all the same subject, like geography, your audience will be 5 geography academics. But if you're applying for courses which are a little varied, say history, history with journalism, and history with philosophy, you need to make sure that everything you write is relevant to each course and to each admissions tutor. Admissions tutors are looking for a genuine interest in the subject and strong potential. Are you likely to do well on the course? And will you be an asset to the university? They read hundreds of personal statements, and it's likely they'll only have time to read each one once. So your personal statement needs to be easily read and understood. Today, we're going to be talking about the research, content, and presentation of your personal statement because they're all equally important. Research is so important, and this is something that will be drilled into you by your teachers at university. Make sure you fully understand the course you're applying for. Find out as much as you can about the course you want to study and think about what skills and personal attributes are going to be needed. That way, you'll know what's relevant to talk about in your personal statement. So where do you begin your search? Well, UCAS is an excellent place to start. They've got fantastic subject guides, and you can also find out about the courses on offer across the UK and a little bit about the universities themselves. You'll not only be able to find information about the subject and the entry requirements, but there are also some really interesting frequently asked questions there too, like what is it like to study this course and what kind of job can I get at the end of it? Researching the course will let you know what skills you will be developing during your studies. If you can show that you've already got the potential to master those skills, the admissions tutor will be really interested in you joining the course. For example, if you want to study paramedic science and that discipline needs people who are resilient, you'd need to give an example of something that you've done that proves you're resilient. For example, have you taken part in the Duke of Edinburgh, or are there other challenges that you've overcome? And can you talk about how and what you learned from them and from the experience? Also check out the university websites. Our course pages have loads of information, from what you're studying each year to photos or even videos where students talk about what they loved about their course. A lot of courses also have their own social media channels. So if you've got Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, why not follow them and see what they're up to? All of this will inform your understanding of the course. The universities themselves will also have social media channels. So if you're still narrowing down your university choices, follow the ones you're interested in and see what they offer. Research the profession you're wanting to go into and what qualities or what core values underpin your future career. To give you an example, if you'd like to go into one of the health or social work professions, it would be worth bearing in mind the 6 values that the NHS prides itself on: care, compassion, competence, communication, courage, and commitment, and they're known as the 6 C's. So for this profession, those are the qualities that your future managers will be looking for. What better way of proving to an admissions tutor that you've got what it takes than by showing them that you've already got the qualities that employers want? So think about the next step. Research the professional bodies attached to your chosen profession, because that will provide an insight into what your admissions tutors are looking for too. We've put together a guide that you can use to structure your personal statement. Part 1 is the opening few sentences that need to grab the reader's attention. Use it to summarise why you want to study your chosen subject, so you can talk about what interests you or how your passion began. You can expand upon this throughout your personal statement, but for now we just want a clear and engaging summary. Now, this is a tip that I use when I had to give presentations at university myself, but our top tip for writing the opening would be to imagine you're in a lift with the admissions tutor and they've asked, why do you want to study this subject? You have just a couple of floors to talk to them before they leave. The idea is that when this short encounter ends, you'll be memorable for all the right reasons. Often asking yourself this question out loud and recording your answers can bring up interesting ideas. So before you actually start writing, ask yourself some questions. Why do you want to study this subject? What inspires you or interests you? Why does this particular subject matter so much? How did your interest begin and what confirms it for you now? Why are you certain that you want to spend the next 3, 4, maybe even longer years studying this? The answers to these questions could unlock a very powerful opening. When it comes to writing your opening sentence, and particularly those first few words, take the time to write something that's original and personal to you. According to UCAS, up on the board are the most overused opening sentences. Now think back to that lift. If you were to start by saying the first 5 words that the last person said, the admissions tutor is going to think they've already spoken to you, and they're not going to give your answer the attention it deserves. Plus, these cliché lines don't really say anything. Nothing is learnt about your motivation or experiences, and they could even raise some doubts. Have you always wanted to be a paramedic? Did you know that when you were 1? You want to make sure you don't lose a fantastic elevator pitch in a cliché opening. Your sentence starter needs to give the impression from the off that this personal statement is going to be new and fresh. If you're struggling for the opening, for that first few sentences or those first couple of words, you may be thinking that a famous quote could be the hook you need to get started. Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world." That's a very powerful sentence, but does it belong in your personal statement? Well, you're right to be cautious. In 2015, this was just outside the top 10 most used opening sentences. If you come across a quote that looks perfect, it's highly likely you're not the only one to find it. Plus, and this is key, quotes are from other people. The admissions tutors want to hear from you. It's called a personal statement because it is just that. It's personal to you. These are our top tips for writing the opening. So think about why you've chosen this course and mention a skill or experience you've had that's relevant to the course and demonstrate that you've done your research. Get to the point quickly and make sure you're covering that golden question of why you. Don't get stuck. If you are stuck on that first little bit, move on to another section and come back. It should come naturally, so don't try and force the opening. Don't use famous quotes or cliche sentences, and don't use rhetorical questions. They don't really add anything, and they do eat up your word count. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you a few opening sentences. My name is David Jones and I was born in Hertfordshire. What do we think about this? Well, it's not relevant. Where you're born in the country does not affect at all which universities you can apply for. That's not how it works, and it would be really mean if we did that. But I don't feel like I know this person any more than I did before I started reading this sentence, apart from their name. The fact they were born in Hertfordshire, again, is just not relevant. What about this one? I would like to study business as I am very interested in business. It's a very circular sentence. As an admissions tutor, I would presume that they're interested in business if they're applying for a business course, so they don't really need to state it within their personal statement. They could have made this so much more interesting by stating where their passion began. How did they get interested in business, rather than just stating, I'm interested in business. I have been interested in science since I was born. Now, we covered this one a little bit earlier on. But it is very unlikely. And this is one that I see a lot when I'm doing my personal statement workshops. It's very unlikely you've been interested since day one in science. Again, try and talk about your passion, where it began, or what sparked that passion. That's far more interesting to an admissions tutor to read than cliche sentences like these. So here's another example. Why I want to study geography at the University of Hertfordshire? Simple, to help me develop and strengthen my knowledge in that area and to come out with a degree to my name and go out into the world and make a difference with my newfound skills. It's 39 words long. And it mentions a specific university. What about the other 4 university admissions tutors that could be reading this? It's not a great first impression. It uses a rhetorical question, which again eats up that all-precious word count, and it doesn't really add anything to this sentence. It uses bland and generic language. Again, I don't feel like I really know this person any more than I did from when I first started reading this sentence. And again, it's 39 words long. You probably heard me gasp for air at the end of it. It's very complicated as a sentence. It doesn't need to be that long. Make sure when you do your personal statements that you don't have marathon sentences and that they're broken down, because the admissions tutor again will be reading hundreds and hundreds of personal statements. So it's important to make sure that it is clear and easy to read. Now let's have a look at this example for a nursing degree. At 14, helping at a day centre for the disabled and elderly, it consolidated my desire to work with vulnerable people and more specifically to become a nurse. Working with these patients came naturally, and I thoroughly enjoyed interacting with such a diverse group of people with different abilities and needs. I can't think of anything more rewarding than helping people feel better. Now, straight away, this shows a genuine interest, and they're talking about their work experience, and they have an understanding of the profession, and you genuinely get a feel for their personality. Judging by the sentence as well, you can make the assumptions that they have good people skills and good communication skills, and that they're proactive, because at just the age of 14, they were already looking for opportunities. And they've demonstrated that they have good, and that, yeah, I've already said those, sorry. So after your opening, it's time to prove your suitability for the course. How can you demonstrate that you are genuinely interested? It's likely that you'll be studying this course subject for 3 or 4 years, and admissions tutors want to know that you've got the commitment and the enthusiasm to succeed. So reflect upon what you've done and analyse its impact. Like that previous statement that we saw for nursing, make sure you convey your passion. This is a chance to talk about any reading you've done, films or documentaries you've watched, any exhibitions or public lectures you've been to, any volunteering, work experience, hobbies that are relevant to the course that you're applying to. For certain professions, it can be tricky at first to find specific work experience, but there are always ways to find relevant experience. So, for example, if you're interested in law but can't get work experience at a firm or a solicitor's, you could watch the current cases in your local magistrates, Crown or Supreme Court. You can find out online when these courts are sitting, and you can watch them online. Or have you joined a debating club at school? Do you have experience of persuasive writing? And have you written a letter that's been published in your local newspaper or school newspaper? Is there a current news story which has legal implications that interest you? If so, you can talk about what they are and why it matters. There are so many ways that you can prove that you have a genuine interest in the course. I have given a link to your teacher for our Getting Experience During a Lockdown page, which has ideas for most subjects on what you can do for experience during a pandemic. On there, you will find the link to when court hearings and proceedings are taking place, as well as a whole host of extra information on law and legal documents. Another example, if you're interested in physics, astrophysics or engineering, NASA have a whole range of podcasts that might inspire you. Now, it's very important when proving you have a genuine interest that you don't just list what you've done. We want you to reflect back and analyse what did you learn? How did the experience challenge you? If you were inspired, can you tell us why? We want to see that you're a proactive and independent learner, which are exactly the skills that you'll need for university. So, for example, if you're applying for an architecture course and you want to talk about a city tour you've been on, can you analyse the experience? Can you tell us why some buildings interested you more than others? Did they all have something in common? What was the best part of the tour? Maybe it was talking about ideas with other people who shared your interest. If so, can you tell us about the impact the experience had on you? So I've been talking a lot about reflecting and analysing upon what you've done. Now, there's a really easy rule to remember when it comes to doing this, and it's called the ABC rule. You may be familiar with this method if you've done PEA in English. So A stands for activity, what have you done? B stands for benefit, what have you learnt? And C stands for course, how does it link back to the course you want to study? An easier way to remember this is it's all right to write about what you've done. It's better to write about its impact and the skills you've gained. But it is cracking to make it relevant to the course, and that is exactly what admissions tutors are looking for. Part 3 is where you need to demonstrate that your current academic skills are relevant to your chosen degree. Even if you're not currently studying the subject that you want to study at degree level, it's highly likely you have transferable academic skills that will be relevant. We want to hear about your academic potential, and we want to know that you can handle the demands of a degree. Here are some academic skills that you might want to talk about that are up on the screen now. But again, don't just list them. Think of an example and bring it to life. For example, think about that team project, about your time management or communication or leadership skills, your creativity, enthusiasm, and ability to motivate the team. Then think about the degree you're wanting to study. Then choose the right skill to highlight. So for example, if you want to do sport coaching, you might talk about your ability to motivate others on that project. If you're wanting to go into business, you might draw upon your leadership skills. Think of the C in the ABC rule. It can be a check for you to ensure that you're using the right example in the right way. Part 4 is all about you and your personal qualities. By now, the admissions tutor knows why you want to study the subject, they know you have a genuine interest, and they know you have the academic skills to succeed. But they want to find out about you, your personal qualities. What drives and motivates you to succeed? If there's anything you really want to talk about that you haven't had the opportunity to do so far, this is the section for it. So think about your extracurricular activities and the skills they demonstrate. If you've fundraised for a charity, you could talk about your communication and organisation skills. Or perhaps you've represented your country for a particular sport. If so, that could reflect your motivation and self-discipline. Or even if you have a part-time job and look after your nan twice a week, that would highlight your sense of responsibility and time management skills, which are excellent personal qualities for university life. So we're now on to the ending, a final thought, a concluding sentence or two which seals the deal. It needs to confirm what the admissions tutor has been thinking all along. I must offer you an interview or a place. So I'm going to give you a few examples of conclusions. So what do you think about this one? In conclusion, I believe that my passion for astrophysics and my strong work ethic make me a perfect candidate for this course. Again, it's generic language. It doesn't make me feel like I know the person any better, and anyone could write it. It's not personal to you. What about this one? I want to succeed in business, and I mean business. Now, in our opinion, this is an unsuccessful attempt at humour. The delivery just doesn't work as well on the written page. So do take the time to make sure that your conclusion is as powerful as your opening statement. Here are our top tips for writing the conclusion. Firstly, think about the feeling you want to leave the admissions tutor with. Imagine that these are the last few words you're going to say before they step out the elevator. So how do you create the right tone, and how do you do it without repeating what you've already said? Well, you could talk about your career goals and your aspirations, or what you're particularly looking forward to on the course without being too specific. You could write about what you want to get out of the university experience. Make sure your conclusion has energy about it and that it doesn't just fizzle out. This is your final moment to make an impact. Hopefully, you're now feeling a lot more confident about the content and structure of your personal statement. Now it's time to make sure that you're presenting your thoughts in the right way. There are now so many websites which act as an online shop. How items are presented is incredibly important. Take a look at these suits, and which one would you click on? You're probably thinking that B stands out. It's an engaging photo and it encourages you to find out more. Now, the other suits could be just as good or better priced, but we can't tell because they're lost in poor presentation. And that's exactly how it is for admissions tutors. The presentation of your personal statement can either draw them into what you're saying, or it can make them feel irritated because they're forced to search for the point that you're trying to make. You need to make sure that the content of your personal statement doesn't get overlooked, just like these other suits, because of poor presentation. The admissions tutor needs to feel excited and intrigued to find out more about you. Reading your personal statement should be an enjoyable experience. Here are our top tips for excellent presentation. Organisation is key. Make sure that however you decide to structure your personal statement, that it flows. An admissions tutor only has 5 minutes to read your personal statement, and you don't want them to spend any of that time getting confused and lost. Make sure you make one point well and then move on. It's really important that you don't have any spelling, grammar, or punctuation errors. This piece of writing needs to showcase you at your best. Even if you consider yourself to be a fantastic speller, you might miss something. Because the brain often reads what it expects to see rather than what's actually there. Review your punctuation. We've read hundreds of personal statements which have what we call the marathon sentence. We've read sentences that are 86 words long. So many applicants get so caught up in their train of thought that they forgot to put any full stops in. So read your personal statement out loud and check that you've allowed the reader to pause when they need to. Also be careful if using exclamation marks, as they can make your personal statement sound a little informal. Use your own vocabulary. Lots of applicants try to impress us by using words that they're less familiar with, and as a result, they often use them in an incorrect way. Admissions tutors will then think, what is this applicant trying to say? Rather than, are they right for the course? So suddenly, you've lost your audience. You can lose the power of an excellent content by trying too hard with vocabulary. So when you're considering which words to use, ask yourself, would I use this word in an interview? If the answer is yes, go ahead and use it. If no, leave it out. To demonstrate this, here is a member of staff from which university reading and reflecting upon his personal statement. I'm going to quickly end my slideshow because I don't think I clicked the right button which allows me to share the audio that is on the presentation. So let me just click that one. There we go.
I'm looking forward to exploring further the different dialects which exist in England today, particularly the linguistic features of dialects and the lexis unique to individual dialects. There's too many uses of the word dialect for one, and again, it's a bit try-hard. Lexis. I mean, I think that just means words.
Now we come on to avoiding repetition. Now, that may sound like the easiest thing to do, but actually it's one of the hardest. You're going to be using words like interesting a lot, but there is one particular word that you'll want to use again and again at the beginning of your sentences, and that is the word I. And that's completely natural, as you are talking about yourself. Now, don't worry about this in the first few drafts, because you can find that you get caught up in how to begin your sentence rather than what you're actually trying to say. On your final draft, go back through and look at changing your sentence starters. Switch the sentences around. You don't have to get rid of all the I's. That won't be possible and it will sound really strange. Just read it back and check that you're not repeating I again and again. You will be amazed at the difference it will make. And it will make your personal statement sound so much more engaging, and you'll find that you'll come across really well. On to humour. Now, some people do like to use humour to reflect the type of person that they are, and it can work really well. It can bring a smile to an admissions tutor's face, but it can also have the opposite effect. Sometimes humour just doesn't translate well on the written page, so ask your friends, family, and teachers for their opinion. Does your humour come across in the spirit that it's intended? If you're not sure, leave it out. And finally, don't copy. This sounds so obvious, but it's easy to feel tempted. There are thousands of personal statements online, and you're likely to come across one that says exactly what you want it to say, and it's so easy to think, well, I'll just copy that little bit over. UCAS uses software which checks your personal statement against all of those that appear online, and if they feel that you've copied, they will notify the universities that you're applying to, and that is not a good first impression. So trust yourself. You know what you're trying to say. Think back to that interview. How would you word your answer? Some final tips for you guys. Be objective. Try and find ways to improve your drafts based on what you've learnt today. Ask yourself, are you using the ABC rule? Are you analysing? Have you mixed up your sentence starters? Is your structure clear? Have you got a powerful beginning and conclusion? Imagine you're the admissions tutor who's going to read your personal statement. Would you offer you a place? Give yourself enough time. It's never too early to write that first draft. The more time you give yourself, the more fun this process will be. Keep a notebook to hand for those moments of inspiration. If you're taking a gap year, Talk about what you'll be doing and how it will benefit you. Explain why after a year out, you will have even more to offer the university. The most important thing to remember is that you have a lot to offer. Well done for concentrating during this virtual presentation. I appreciate it may not be what any of us are used to. I hope this has made you feel more confident about writing your personal statement. I'm now going to go back to my normal screen and answer any questions you guys have.
Okay guys, so if you do have any questions, on your screen there should be either a little speech bubble with a question mark or a button that says Q&A. So if you do have any questions, just type them into that little box. But do remember, there are people within the college that can assist you if you're needing additional support with your personal statement. You just need to come down to the Careers and Advice Hub to meet either myself or Reese, who's over at St Albans. And we'll just stare now awkwardly at the screen and wait and see if anybody asks any questions. This is the bit I always find so awkward.
If there's no questions, I can run through some frequently asked questions that I get asked a lot in terms of personal statements.
I think the one that I always find is a good one to ask is just how do you get started? You know, you're starting from absolutely fresh. And I think that's the most hardest thing is just getting that ball rolling.
Yeah, that was what I struggled with. I read my personal statement a little while ago that I used, and it was so cringy to read back. But I find it easiest if I discuss how my passion began, what started it. So for me, I represented Team GB. I was an athlete. I understood what it was like to be an athlete and how diverse sport could be. And that was kind of what made me think I want to continue with sport. I didn't know necessarily which route I wanted to go down. So I explained I was going to do sports studies so I could have a variety of lectures, of modules, so I could learn each little bit and decide where I wanted to go. So I had a little bit of everything. But yeah, talking about your passion, where it began, is so engaging. Admissions tutors absolutely love to learn, like, you know, where was it that kind of sparked your interest? That's their kind of, for us, that's kind of their favourite thing.
Right, well, from the looks of things, we haven't got any questions. So guys, like I say, if you do after this webinar suddenly go, oh, I've got a further question, or you want extra support, do come down to the Careers and Advice Hub, but also do look at University of Hertfordshire's website. They've got a number of resources on there that are really useful, not just with personal statements, but whether it's choosing a course, student finance, additional support, that they've got a number of resources on there to help you figure out what to do.
Yeah, another frequently asked question I get is to do with the academic skills and the general characteristics. How do I even begin to figure out which ones I should use? My cheat is to look at job descriptions. So for example, I was interested in coaching at the time. So I looked at job opportunities for coaches, and they actually list the skills that they want their applicants to have. So like timekeeping, like motivating others. So it's my cheat. So if you are struggling to think of skills to put in your personal statement, have a look at job descriptions and they will list it. And as long as you can provide a example from your own experience, then you can kind of list off, yep, I've got an example for that one. No, I don't have an example for that one. And that will give you a good starting point.
Great, Bella. Well, thank you so much for that. That's been really, really insightful. I think we'll call it now a day. Just to let everybody know also, there will be a recording of this being sent out. So if there's anything that you missed, you can obviously look back over this session. But thank you very much.
No worries.
Great. Have a good day now. See you later. Bye-bye now.